What's good, y'all boys? We're back again to another video. It's your boy Boss Enosch. You feel me? On today's episode, we're going to dive a little bit into the hellscape, the woke liberal hellscape called Canada. Let me read this title to you. Justin Trudeau is coming for Joe Rogan with mandated media licensing. Content limits. It's a report by The Hill. I saw part of this, and what I saw, I didn't like. And I definitely thought that we had to make a video talking about it because, hey, the shit I'm seeing, crazy. But let's get into it without further ado. Y'all ready? Let's go.
Is Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau coming for Joe Rogan? Last month, Canada's Federal Broadcast Regulatory Agency announced a new mandate requiring online streaming services, including podcast platforms, to register with the government by November 28th. The order applies to streamers generating $10 million or more from the consumers of their content through their platforms.
Independent creators are worried that their online success will now depend on the degree to which their content is deemed Canadian by the government, according to reporting from SAS Rav Aurora, who writes that the new mandate could mean Canadians will no longer be able to access certain popular Spotify podcasts. Podcast giant Joe Rogan reacted to Trudeau's new podcast regulation plan and Canada's recent government policies as a whole. Let's watch.
They then want them to
register with the government. Why? What's wrong with what's going on right now? What do I need to register for?
hand over information about their content and the people listening to their oh my God. to the government.
Imagine
Trudeau.
getting a hold of Alex Jones's email list. Not just the truckers, but
they want to know who is listening to the stuff that I... Oh my gosh. They want to know who is listening to the people that they don't agree with. They want to know who is listening to the people that they deem misinformation, that they deem fake news. You saw how they were doing when people were talking about COVID, okay? You saw how they was doing them folks. When it turned out, some of them folks wasn't necessarily wrong, okay? Some of them wasn't necessarily wrong. You saw how they got at Joe Rogan for taking ivermectin, which is a medicine that people use for, it's an antibiotic. People use it. Why are you attacking them for using a medicine and seeing how it works? Right? You see, and like you just said, imagine if they got a hold of Alex Jones' email list. Alex Jones is blacklisted. They don't follow Alex Jones. So it's enough. It's bad enough that they want to, shame him, attack him, whatever. But now, what do you think they're gonna do if they have the people that listen to him? They're gonna do the same thing to do to him. They can do it to you. That's crazy. That's insane. It's crazy and insane.
But people who donated to the truckers got their bank accounts closed.
Yeah.
Well, that is wild.
Yeah.
You got locked out of all of your money because you donated to a cause where you didn't think that people should have to take an experimental vaccine.
Orwell. Oh my gosh.
In order to be able to work to drive a truck.
But
really?
Yeah.
Really? You think that's okay? Like, that's so not okay. The fact that those people aren't up in arms. The whole country didn't freak out and demand a change. Like, you can't have, that's dictatorship stuff. That's
right.
What that is. It's Banana Republic stuff.
Essayist and co-author of the Illusion of Consensus Substack, Rav Aurora, joins us now to weigh in on what the new rules might mean for Canadian content creators. Great to have you with us.
Hey guys, great to be here.
So tell us more about what exactly is being proposed. This sounds very concerning given, given specifically what Justin Trudeau's government has done in terms of free expression, but frankly, even if the government had a sterling record on this subject, I would be very worried about having any kind of licensing regime for content creators vis-a-vis any government.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that on the surface, there doesn't seem to be something directly concerning. I mean, it was designed to be a policy to help and uplift and amplify Canadian content creators, specifically Indigenous content creators and content creators of minority backgrounds. And so they've said they want podcast platforms like Spotify and I assume places like Rumble to register with them so that they can follow these mandated guidelines that would help uplift and promote Canadian content creators.
You see, that's what they do, right? That's what they do. They always disguise something crazy, behind it being good for minorities. We want to support minorities. We want to support black people and indigenous folk and women and LGBTQ folk. Come on, bro. But behind it, they're really doing some evil shit. We seen what Black Lives Matter did. Off the deaths of black women and men. Black men and women and children. They scammed y'all people out y'all bread. They scam y'all out y'all money and bought big, nice mansions. If Canada wants these companies to register and they get access to the content creators and the viewers of these content creators, what do you think they're going to do with the people that watch the people that they don't like, that they don't approve of? Like Joe Rogan. Come on, bro.
But the problem is the parameters for what is Canadian and, you know, what gets decided as Canadian enough is kind of ambiguous, and we know that this government in the past, like the CRTC in particular, the federal regulator for podcast platforms, you know, this is what they want to do. They in the past have demonstrated a fairly censorious record, such as a couple of years ago when one radio program was talking about a case of a professor in Quebec who was under fire for mentioning the N-word, which was in the title of a book, and they were talking about the case, and they just mentioned the word in an explicitly non-racist way, but they were just talking about the story, and they mentioned the N-word multiple times, and then the CRTC, the federal regulator, forced CBC, which is the CBC television and radio broadcast platform for all of Canada, which has this specific radio program, which had these hosts mention the N-word, to apologize and to show some evidence that they are going to do things differently and that they're going to take some serious measures to correct this problem. And so whatever your personal view on the N-word is, whether you think that you should be able to say it in a non-racist way or you should never be able to say it in any context, it doesn't matter. The problem here is that the CRTC forced the CBC to issue an apology. So the question is, how are they going to do this in the future? Are certain podcasts that violate specific policies or parameters of medical misinformation, for example, which is something that potentially, my own podcast with Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, which I am a sole proprietor of here in Canada, we cover COVID issues and a lot of the mixed consensus and misinformation surrounding vaccines, masks, and various public health mandates. Could that be then violative of what the Trudeau government considers accurate information on those topics? That's the question, because clearly in the past they have erred on a very specific side, therefore, in my opinion, stifling free speech.
I hope you can speak a little bit more to what the bill actually says, because honestly, I'm reading about it and it's confusing. It seems to have a lot of different prongs and maybe operates in different ways. One description, I'm reading from the CBC, says it requires streaming services such as Netflix and Spotify to pay to support Canadian media content like music and TV shows. So that's what you're talking about, about trying to facilitate, uplift, boost Canadian content when you were talking about Indigenous content and the like?
Yes, yeah, that seems to be part of it, although there's a lot of vagueness and confusion around how exactly this is going to be imposed.
Right.
And we have at least a little bit of history from the past few months when Bill C-18 was passed, and I don't know if you guys covered it on the show, but basically all Canadian users, including myself right now, cannot access media sources on Instagram. And I think the Hill is included in that, actually. Yeah. So if I go on Instagram, if I go on the Hill's Instagram account, I can't look at any of your posts because Bill C-18 mandated places like Instagram and Facebook to impose this 4% tax fee, essentially, in that they would have to give back a certain amount to Canadian media outlets as a way to compensate them for their work.
What?
And Instagram and Meta, they said, well, we're already providing you a platform where, because of us, you're generating how many millions of dollars for airing your content here. So we're not going to, further compensate you guys for a service that we're giving you. And so the result of that is that Instagram and Meta failed to comply and refused to comply with this mandate. So what's happened here is now, because the government mandated them to compensate and they haven't, now Canadians can access various media sources.
Does this sound right? Does this sound like something that should be happening, bro?
On Instagram and Meta. So the concern now here with podcasting is if Spotify and Rumble and other places refuse to comply with this federal Canadian mandate, what is that going to mean for the future of accessibility for various podcasts?
But what does compliance look like? I'm just trying to understand, because I do think
I ain't gonna lie, I wish this dude wasn't talking so monotone. Like, I'm getting tired of listening to him. But he's saying some real shit, though. You have to fight through it, okay? He's saying some real shit. For all my ADHD babies out there, sit through it, okay? Fight through it. He's saying some real shit. He's bringing up he's bringing up important points and asking the real questions. What precedent does this set for the people that refuse? For the companies that refuse? And why would some government say that? How could they say that they have to pay to help fund? That shit is so weird, bro. It's weird.
Enforcement aspect of it might help me to understand how this would even be implemented in the first place. Take this with a grain of salt, of course, but I'm looking at the Canadian Radio, Television and Communications Commission's kind of true or false fact check sheet about this issue. And they're claiming that they will only regulate broadcasters, not content creators and digital creators, but traditional broadcasting services and online streaming services. What do you say of that?
Like YouTube?
Say to that, rather.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting analogy that's been made before.
Say only the companies?
If you say, like, the difference between saying I want to regulate a library versus I want to regulate the actual books. So here, it's like they want to impose a certain mandate on the library to, prioritize and amplify and preferentially boost certain kinds of content and not others. And
oh my gosh, it's pretty much like another. It's they're trying to push like a content creator affirmative action. Oh my gosh, bro! Sounds to me like not only is it another attempt to control what you engage with and listen to and consume, it's another example of them trying to destroy meritocracy. Instead of becoming a big content creator off your own work and merit and skill and talent and personality and charisma, they want to make broadcasters push people of color to the forefront. What the fuck? Like, bro, if somebody, like, come on, bro, shut up.
Specifically said in the CRTC, they follow the broadcasting
CRTC, Critical Race Theory
Act, which says that you have to have content that reflects the racial, gender, and sexual diversity and uplifts minority voices of marginalized backgrounds in Canada. And as I outlined in my piece, that's that's very confusing, and that's a very slippery slope, because minority groups across Canada have very differing views on a whole range of topics, and it's not, there's this kind of leftist, in my view, this kind of progressive myth that BIPOC, LGBTQ plus people, like, they're all sort of unified on certain views, when in actuality they're not. Like, we had protests across Canada here recently in opposition to SOGI, which is
what's that?
Teaching kids about gender ideology and about changing their gender, etc. And you had large groups of Muslim parents protesting against this and saying that they find this curriculum promoting radical gender ideology as Islamophobic. So it's like, what's considered uplifting minority content? Is their content going to be uplifted, the content of Muslim creators who want to oppose this?
No, they're only going to uplift the minority content creators that they agree with. Again, it's shadow trickery, bro. This is what it is. Canada should be people in Canada should be protesting this shit right now. I ain't gonna lie to you. Out in the front of Justin Trudeau's house with picket line, okay? Pitchforks and torches. I'm just playing. But with signs and all that. You know what I'm saying? Because come on, bro. They're trying to control you. If you look across history, look at all the different civilizations, all the different kingdoms, everywhere, whether it be on this continent or one of the other continents, the one idea that has always reign true that people universally like and want and desire is liberty, freedom. If there's one thing that every human can agree on, it is the enjoyment of freedom. This is the opposite.
Stuff, etc. This raises all sorts of questions for how they're going to enforce these mandates of promoting, a diversity of voices, promoting different minority voices when there's so much ambiguity on what's going to be labeled as minority and sufficiently Canadian enough for the government to mandate places like Spotify and Rumble to preferentially boost certain creators over others.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of the in the U.S. the various film subsidies in the states, efforts to establish.
Motherfuckers want to put affirmative action in Rumble on YouTube. What the fuck?
Filmmaking industries in the states, which were the incentive subsidy packages would just tax money directly being given to film industries to headquarter in various states, but then snuck in there sometimes are provisions that the movie in question has to make that state look good. That's kind of what came to mind as you were describing this. Rob Aurora, thank you so much for joining us and elucidating us on what's going on in Canada.
Elucidating.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
That shit is crazy. Let's look at the comments real quick. As a Canadian, I'm truly embarrassed and ashamed of this Canadian government. Trudeau must go. Stop Trudeau. As a Canadian, I really hope this information becomes more known to the Canadian public as well as the American public, because most of my peers have no idea this kind of thing is happening. The media in Canada has become propaganda, and Canadians seem to be in the dark as what's happening to our freedoms. I'm a 60-year-old woman living in Ottawa. In Ottawa, the capital of Canada, and I fear for what will happen next. It started with the lies that Trudeau spouted during the trucker convoy, and it's continuing to this day. Facts. That trucker shit was crazy. We didn't really talk about it in this channel though, but I saw some of it. It was crazy. The shame belongs to the Jagmeet Singh and the NDP party, whose political support was necessary for Trudeau to form a minority government. They were meant to keep a minority government honest by voting against Trudeau's woke initiatives, but instead they married themselves to Trudeau's personal ambition for that profits them to be kin to the winning side rather than the losing team. So let me get straight. Trudeau is going to mandate American content creators register in Canada and give Canada all their content and followers info? Not. If Americans think this story is alarmist, it isn't. As a Canadian, the government's efforts to restrict our access to internet news is nothing short of frightening. Years ago, Michigan had a film industry tax incentive program. Part of the government payments to the industry was based on how much they spent in Michigan. There were multiple reports of the film crews going to local malls and buying up clothing and other items to be used in the movies. Once they had the receipt, they could do three things. First, they could utilize those purchases in the movie. Second, they could apply for those tax dollars. And third, they could return all the items for a full refund once the scene was shot. Oh, well, what is... Okay, so a lot of comments are against Canada for sure, because that's crazy, bro. Look every day these people want to take away your freedoms. They want to control you. They want to force behavior.
You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors.
Okay, I'm gonna keep reading that, and I'm gonna keep using that fucking clip of that nigga Larry Fink because it's real. They want to force behaviors. It's insane, bro. It's insane. I'm glad I don't live in Canada, bro. I know some people that live there, but shit, don't Auburn preach stay in Canada? God damn. No wonder they don't talk about trans stuff no more. But hey, man, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I thought this shit was crazy. I think it's real crazy. But let me know in the comments if you think this is real crazy or it's not that crazy. Am I tripping or is Canada doing the right thing? Are they tripping or are they spitting? We know the answer. But hey, comment, subscribe, like, share, hit the notification bell, and join the Discord. The link's in the description box down below. And I'll see you in the next video. Hey, peace out. Yeah.